Hello and welcome to another booktube video from me, Lauren, from Lauren and the Books. And today I'm going to be wrapping up what I read in October. So October was a month in which I read... In which I read... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 books, and it's the 29th and I'm third of a way through one on my Kindle, which I'm hoping to finish today, and then I'm on a spa weekend tomorrow and Sunday, so I'm filming this like ahead of time so I can get my my videos up in time. Minnie's having a beautiful stretch over there, and so there is still a chance that I will read something else. However, I will tag that onto my November video, my November wrap up, but at the moment I've read 10 books, and I will start, as I put my book away with all my lovely notes in, so delay on this. I will start with the book that I read the first. So October wasn't a great reading month for me. No 5-star books, one 4.5-star book, quite a lot, but sort of like no like real excitingness going on. A lot of sort of like 2 stars and things like that. Minnie, if you jump on that laptop, you're going to be in big trouble. She looks like she's ready to jump on the laptop. So the first book I read was a book that I read for my my book club at work, and it was Nora Webster by Colin Toybin. I've read Brooklyn by Colin Toybin. I feel like I'm really slouched in this video, but hey, I'm really comfy. I've read Brooklyn by Colin Toybin and really enjoyed it. I like a quiet, like, novel family saga where not much happens, etc. But really, this was eventless and I found it a bit boring. So it follows Nora Webster, who is a woman whose husband has just died, and it's a really slow tale of her coming to terms with her grief. I really liked books set in Ireland, and I've been to some of the places mentioned and the character names were a bit familiar, but overall this was a bit boring for me, and everybody in book club sort of also found it boring. And there was so little that happened that I found there was nothing to talk about, and it was almost like it almost got going with something like, so she worked in this new office and she didn't get on with the woman who was her boss, was like the office manager, so you thought, oh, maybe something will happen here, but then like that just didn't happen anymore, and then she went on to something else, and then she was in a choir and she was a really good singer, and then you thought, oh, something's going to happen here, but then nothing happened there as well. So yeah, it was just a bit too much of nothing in here for me, so I only gave that 2 stars, unfortunately. Found it a bit eventless. The next book I read was a audiobook that David and I listened to. This was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This was obviously 5 stars, but I haven't counted it as a 5-star because this is a reread, because I read it every year since it's come out, so this doesn't really count as an actual 5-star book. So although there has been one 5-star book this month, it was Harry Potter, so it doesn't really count. We listened to this on audiobook and we absolutely loved it. Because we were able to listen to it together when we were away, like for David's birthday and things like that, and we've been listening to it before we fall to sleep and things like that. I'm really getting into me audiobooks, and I wish I had a bit more time and a bit more storage on my phone to listen to have more than one audiobook on my Audible account at one time. David you haven't really enjoyed audiobooks before, had you, David?
No. But
you're enjoying these ones?
Yes, right.
What do you think it is about the Stephen Fry ones that you enjoy more? And the story,
like, just his voice helps a lot. I think
you like
it's
his
a lot
voice?
about the voice, but not just like anyone's voice. I think it really makes it. Yeah. Makes the book.
He does the voices very well as well. So he's like, it's an interactive kind of thing. So yeah, really enjoyed listening to that. So that was the second thing I finished. The next thing I read was The Bone Sparrow by Zana Freylon. This I also gave 2 stars. This was an extremely sad account of a young lad who was born into an immigration detention centre in Australia after leaving Burma. This is a children's book, so for me it felt like it glossed over some of the more adult perspectives and elements that I was concerned about. I think this is a really important book to raise awareness for children with regards to immigration, but I found this I didn't find it spoke to me very much. So there was a lot of like a story within a story that they were telling each other, and I found those bits very dull. It glossed over some more important things, I thought, and I would have preferred, instead of going into this story that they were telling each other, I would have preferred more of actually what was happening, and it was a bit sort of frantic at the end. I felt like it was like, oh, we've got to get all this in. So yeah, I gave it 2 stars. It was very sad, and I think for children it's very important, but for me it wasn't great. So The next book I read was a graphic novel. This was kindly given to me by Eleanor from Eleanor Reads Books. This is Dan and Sam. It's a graphic novel by Mark Watson and Oliver Harud. I really like this. I gave it 3 stars. I like the way the colour was used and I found it very powerful. I've read a graphic novel like that before, the Jane the Fox and Me. So this tells the story of a couple, Dan and Sam, who own a restaurant in London, and one day Sam dies in a car accident. She's hit by a hit and run, and she disappears from Dan's life. So it's told in grey and very like grey, and then I actually really enjoy the art style. And then one day a year, so a year after Sam dies, she comes back to visit, and it's all in colour again. And she comes back to visit Dan once a year, as long as he still loves her. And the bits where he comes back to visit are in colour, and then the bits where she's not with him are in grey. And yeah, I just found it very, very powerful. And I liked the inclusion of food, because they own a restaurant and I really love books that include food, and the fact it was set in London, and I thought the subject matter was original and interesting, and I liked the art, although it wasn't my favourite, and sometimes it felt a little bit superhero-ish, but yeah, I thought this was good and I enjoyed it, so I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was good and I enjoyed it, so I gave it 3 stars. The next book is a book I read on my Kindle. It is short story. It's one of the, excuse me, a bit of my tea out of my special mug. It is one of the collections of short stories released from Pottermore. Short stories from Hogwarts, Politics, Power and Poltergeists by J.K. Rowling. I enjoyed this very much. I didn't enjoy it quite as much as Heroism. I can't remember what the other one was called. I've got it written down here. Let's have a look. The other one was called Heroism, Hardship and Dangerous Hobbies. I didn't enjoy it quite as much as that, just because this didn't have the... So in that one, it followed McGonagall and Lupin, who are like 2 of my favourite characters. These were... The characters discussed in this weren't my favourite compared to the previous collection. But I particularly enjoyed the bit about the Minister for Magic, and I enjoyed the list of Ministers for Magic dating back. And I was thrilled to see how many witches appeared in that list of Ministers for Magic. And yeah, it's just really nice to dip back into the Harry Potter world. And these little short stories, I mean, there's 3 collections. I've read 2 now. I've still got a incomplete and unreliable guide to Hogwarts to read, but they've really it's really nice to have new Harry Potter material that actually feels like Harry Potter material compared to how I felt having read The Cursed Child. So I would really recommend people to read these if they want a little, and they're really, really short. They're like $1.99 each on the Kindle. You can only get them in ebook at the moment, but yeah, really enjoyed them, so I gave that 4 stars. The next book I read was Where'd You Go, Bernadette by Maria Semple. I've been meaning to pick this up for a while. I'd seen it on quite a few people's wrap-ups and books that they'd enjoyed. This was light-hearted and easy to read, and I enjoyed the different perspectives and the letter writing method of the book, so it wasn't really told in a sort of like ordinary... Oh, bookmark. It wasn't really told in like an ordinary like Once Upon a Time way. It was told like through letters and through memos and through... like emails and things like that, and I enjoy it. I think that's called a multimedia narrative, and I enjoyed that, but I didn't think the actual plot or the character of Bernadette were the best things I've ever read, and it just sort of fell a bit flat for me. I was expecting a lot more, and sort of started it with high hopes, thinking, oh, this is going to be brilliant, and then by the end I was a bit like... But yeah, enjoyable, very quick, and I gave that 2 stars. I say enjoyable, it was okay for me. I gave that 2 stars. The next thing I read was The Thing Around Your Neck by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This is a collection of short stories. I adore Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She's written one of my favourite books of all time, Americana, and I picked this and another short story collection, which I also finished this month, after... completing the short story tag, which I will link down below. So the great stories in this collection were great, and the ones I wasn't keen on were instantly forgettable. Monday Last was my favourite story. So this told the story of a babysitter who was babysitting for a family, and the mother in that family is this sort of like enigmatic artist, and she locks herself away in the basement, and one day the babysitter comes into contact with her, and she like becomes like almost falls in love with her like instantly, and the artist says to her, oh, you should pose naked for me, blah 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 blah, and then at the end of the story the babysitter hears her saying to another woman, oh, you should pose naked for me. So she thought that the link that they had like she has with everyone basically. I really like that story. This has reignited my love for Chimamanda and Ngozi Adichie. Not that it ever needed reigniting, but when I was reading it I was like, bloody I want to read some more. And I'm going to be reading Americana for the rereadathon, which is happening later on in November. But yeah, I gave this 3 stars, and like I said, like the ones that the great stories were great, and the ones that I wasn't too keen on I've sort of forgotten about already. But yeah, 3 stars, really very much enjoyed this. The next book I read was a book that I read for my online book club, and that was All the Bright Places by Jennifer Niven. I wasn't very keen on this at all. I can see why some people would like it, for instance, like people who enjoyed The Fault in Our Stars and YA and things like that. This just wasn't for me. I'm not a big YA lover, however I'm about to talk about a YA book that I gave 4.5 stars. But this for me, I just felt the character was like, it was filled with what I consider to be like unbelievable characters, like 2 teenagers quoting Virginia Woolf across Facebook to each other and being really angsty, and it was just a bit too angst-filled for me. I mean, come on. Do teenagers really quote Virginia Woolf to each other across Facebook? I don't think that happens. I didn't feel any connection to any of the characters, and yeah, again, I feel like I've used this expression already once in this video, but it just fell a bit flat for me. So I gave it 2 stars, and just a bit too much angst for me. The next book was another short story collection, which is called Treats by Lara Williams. When I did the short story tag, spoiler alert, I ended up picking The Thing Around Your Neck by Chimamanda and Ngozi Adichie and Treats by Lara Williams because I enjoyed both of them. For me, this was too many okay stories and not enough great ones to be rated as any higher than a 2-star collection. Some are good. I enjoyed the Penguin ones, so they're all really, really short stories. Like, oh, and as I said that, I actually opened onto the Penguin one. So this is about a girl who finds herself single at 29 unexpectedly, and she says, it starts like this. It had really good like first lines to the stories. She finds herself single, 29, partially employed, and about half a stone overweight. And she ends up starting this relationship with a chap who she meets in, I can't remember. Yeah, she ends up starting a relationship with this chap, and then one day he asks her to dress up as a penguin during sex, and she's like, oh, and then she can never really forget that, and she looks at photos and she's like, why does this guy find penguins sexually like attractive and things like that. And I just found this was quite good. There was another one in here which was written in the style of A Stream of Consciousness, which reminded me of how much I enjoyed The Lesser Bohemians by Emma McBride, and I thought that was okay, but the rest of them were just like there was far too many okay ones for it to be any more than a 2-star. So yeah, there was nothing in this collection that really, really excited me, so it's a 2-star collection for me. And then the last book that I've read this month so far is the book that I've ended up giving 4.5 stars, and that is One by Sarah Crossan. So this is a YA book, after saying I don't like YA. This is like I really, really love this. So this is a YA book about a set of conjoined twins called Tippy and Grace, and this is a book written in prose, which I found really, really interesting. It was a way I'd never read a novel before. I absolutely flew through it because it was so quick. It was really easy to follow. I'm not big into poetry and like things like that, so I was like, oh, I wonder if I'd like it. But I bought this for my friend Laurel for her birthday. She read it and then lent it to me. So and I just thought it was really great. It was really touching, and I was amazed and impressed by how much the author managed to fit into this like book, and not much text on the pages and things like that, and how emotional I felt at the end of the book and how attached I felt to the characters as well. So about 50 pages in, I was like fully invested in the character of Grace, who is the narrator. She is one of the conjoined twins, and I felt really like I felt for her Tippy as well, her sister, and then the friends she'd met at school and things like that. As I said, I've never read anything written in prose before, and I found it really interesting and compelling writing style, and I was just really impressed by this. I really, really liked it. I gave it 4.5 stars. I think this will be a really great book to recommend to somebody who hasn't been into reading, who has been away from reading for a bit, and it was an easy read. And when I heard about the subject matter, I was a bit like, will I enjoy that? But I really did enjoy this, and I would urge people to read it. I found it very emotional. I cried at the end. I cried in the middle of it as well, and yeah, I just really, really liked it and gave it 4.5 stars, and I would definitely recommend this to people who haven't been into reading for a bit, people who like YA, people who want something a bit different. I think this will really like surprise you at how much you'll enjoy it. So those are the books that I read in the month of October. What did you guys get up to reading in the month of October? I would love to hear if you've read any of these things and what you thought of them. And I will see you all again soon for another BookTube video. Goodbye!